All right, what's going on, guys? We are here with a very special location to see. If you see behind me, we are actually here at Chase Base, and I'm here with Landon and Dustin, two guys that work here at Chase Base. And today we're kind of just gonna walk around and see how everything goes down here. We're gonna look at some parts and some cars that they've got in progress here, and hopefully you guys will learn something. If you saw my last video, you saw me installing their power steering kit on my E46, and you've seen before on the other E36. So yeah, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and get started.
I had to leave for way longer than I planned.
Appreciate it.
I can drift. I can do that. Yeah,
Oh yeah, that definitely needs to be in here. So this is the facility.
K-swapped S2000.
Oh, that's sick. I didn't even realize.
It's we're gonna do, I think we did the OEMC brake line kit, but then we're also going to do fuel lines for it.
Oh, nice.
He could have bought, you know, stuff to make it work, but we're gonna do probably a Chase Base K-swapped S2000 fuel line kit. On this, we just did a dual BB install. Basically, this is a dual piston brake booster delete. We have made a single piston one for years, but this is a dual piston, and we released this with a 6-to-1 bolt-on pedal ratio. So most of your like high-end race cars have 6-to-1 pedal ratio.
Yeah.
So we made this with that bolt-on pedal adapter to give it all, you know, to give any car that same ratio, give it that same feel.
When you say 6-to-1, that's for every one part of travel of the pedal, it's 6 parts travel of the masters, right? That's cool. So you get way more actual force into the brake without as much effort into the pedal.
As much effort with your foot, yeah,
Sense.
exactly. So yeah, it's something Chase has been working on, dude. I think his prototype stuff was literally, a long time. That one will be taken out, like I said, and that one will stay in there. That way, when he's at the track, you know, driving, if he needs more force to the rear, more force to the front, he just
That's sick. I am here with the owner of Chase Base, Chase McMaster, and Landon McFarland. And so today we're gonna just kind of walk around their facility. We're gonna kind of see how everything goes down here, from their orders to the builds that they've got going on. And yeah, so I guess I'll kind of let you take it away, whatever you'd like to show, and we can go ahead and get started.
Sure, we can just breeze through it. These are obviously loading docks. We get all of our incoming shipments in here. These are our receiving and our build tables. When we receive everything, comes in, sometimes it's on pallets, sometimes it's individual boxes, sometimes it's entire containers, but bring everything in. It goes on the shelf here. These are called our pre-shelves. So you have pre-1 through 8 or 7. So pre-001, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And it's just raw material. So if you went over here, you would see this is a coolant overflow, but this is just how it shows up from our supplier. So no O-ring, no barbs here, no hardware. So it's just pretty much storage and waiting to be built into a finalized product. So it just goes right up here on the shelf, and then once we're ready to build it, once inventory calls for it, we get the work order, and then we start assembling it.
And so it's assembled here at this table?
It's assembled here. So this is receiving and also building. So I don't have an ALCO as an example. ALCO is aluminum coolant overflow. That's our part number in our code. But I do have a dual piston brake booster delete. So this is, yeah, we've got a lot. This is an Army. We're preparing for the war, so World War III is obviously going to happen, so we might as well get our troops ready. This is something I can't even put into words how much work this was. I've been working on this for about 5 years, and we could have come out with something sooner, but I wanted it to be perfect, and I wanted it to be compact. This is pretty much a dual piston, which means front circuit, rear circuit, isolated circuits, dual piston, brake booster delete. So it goes into its manual brakes, which the fastest race cars and drift cars I shouldn't say fastest drift cars, but the best drift cars in the world use manual brakes. I mean, Ferrari Challenge, IMSA, they all use manual brakes. We can spiel about that later, but it's a manual brake conversion, dual circuit, and the big thing is pedal ratio. With manual brakes, you have to have a 6:1 or 7:1 pedal ratio. So yeah, we got this over here. So we have it's hard, the factory pedal ratio is around 3.5 to 1 or 4 to 1, and you want it to be 6 to 1 or 7 to 1 for manual brakes.
That's in most cars, right?
So factory cars are generally, the average of all of them is 4 to 1.
Okay.
So that's just not enough leverage to have like a 1-inch master cylinder. You can have a 3/4 master cylinder, but that just doesn't have enough. It works great for drift cars and most track cars if you have a 3/4 master cylinder. But if you really, if you have big brakes and you're actually a motorsport oriented car, it needs to be 1-inch master cylinder with a 6:1 ratio. So we have a bolt-in pedal adapter. I can show you, we have some pedals outside of the car and I can explain that better. But there's a lot to say. I could I could write a book about it, but the goal was to make it 6:1 bolt-on, easy to install, because the other alternative to this is a pedal box, which is $5,000 if you really wanted to do it. I mean, it's a whole ordeal, and people don't even know how to tune those properly, and you end up with something you don't need. So this bolts on. You have to do some light modification to the firewall on some chassis. The pedal adapter that we just showed you bolts right on. The biggest thing for me was making the master cylinder compact. I don't know, I can compare down the road some, but this is a dual piston master cylinder, and it's the same length as a Willwood single piston master cylinder. So that's just the biggest thing, is what's the point of doing it if your master cylinder's out to here?
Right.
Because most dual piston master cylinders are big and bulky. So we actually designed this. I mean, this is a Chase Bay's master cylinder. And then finding proper tolerances and machining and getting it SAE tested, all that stuff. I mean, it's been tested to I think it was 500 degrees Fahrenheit, and then negative 250 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's just had so much testing. So this has been on the docket for a long time.
And they're beautiful too.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I think that's one of the biggest things about all of y'all's products, is that not only do they function incredibly well, they look a certain way too. They're actually beautiful to look at. And like you said, the size too, one thing that stands out to me that I don't think a lot of people think about is like the clearance that size gives you in some chassis is like, you have to have it. You don't have a choice.
Well, and
especially like, I know like I'm thinking E30, E36, like a V8 E36, like you don't have room there.
Not much room. Yeah, that's the problem with everything. And I'm glad that you see them as functionally as a functional product that's aesthetically pleasing, because that's been the goal from the get-go. It's space saving, weight saving, functionally great, and aesthetically pleasing. So that's what we do. And we're builders. As you'll see down later in this tour here, we always are building cars. So there's always that design aspect that kind of comes with it, because we know that downpipes come close to this, and you got to make sure that this compensates for other aftermarket products and other things that are hot. So
yeah, see, I think that's a huge advantage for you guys too, because it would be one thing just to design it and to fit in a car that was otherwise bone stock, but I mean, in reality, what bone stock car is something like this going into?
Yeah,
probably not. This is probably not somebody's first mod.
Nope. Yeah, it's modification 40 or 45.
Yeah.
It's really astonishing the amount of designers and engineers in our industry that are not builders.
Right.
And we've missed the mark before. We've made mistakes, and that's just part of it. You have to be willing to take a risk to get anywhere. But yeah, you can tell that the people that are building products just to sell them, because they just don't work in the long run. And even if they make a mistake, that's okay. When you let them know, they're like, I don't know, it's selling fine, so we're not gonna do anything about it. This is our version 3 handbrake. the handle, we kind of wanted to make it look like a dimple die. Everybody loves dimple die.
Oh yeah, I do.
Speed holes.
Speed.
Oh, here's. Let's backtrack for a second. So this is a Willwood. We use these for under handbrakes and single piston brake booster eliminators until we can get a single piston design. So this is a single piston master cylinder, and you can see it's the same length as a dual piston.
That's impressive.
So that's why this took so long, is because engineering this was not easy, and then manufacturing it was not easy.
Especially right now.
Yeah. I mean, really, we sort of got done and we were like ready to go mid 2020, and
perfect timing.
Everything went to shit. So you can see our guy Sam here. He's building. He builds stuff all day. He's great at it. Once they're built, they get packaged and we put on the post shelf. I think I called it a pre-shelf a second ago, but this is the post shelf. So pre-inventory, post-inventory.
So post-inventory means it's come in, the added components have been added, and it's assembled, basically ready to go.
Yes.
Okay.
So you can see finished handbrakes here.
Got you.
Finished power steering reservoirs, all kinds of stuff. Bias valves are assembled.
Man, seeing those in person, I'm excited to see one of those in my M3 coming one day.
Handbrake or the dual piston?
The handbrake. The brakes I'm gonna have to see. Probably once I actually swap it.
Yeah.
I'll definitely need something like that. But
What swap are you gonna do?
I wanted, so the first engine swap for it, I want to build an ITB 4.8 LS that revs to like 8,500 plus.
I'm good with that.
Yep.
You should do an 8-1 header.
I would love to. I just don't know if there's room and that the fab work involved in that.
Yeah, it's like a $10,000 header. Yeah. We're doing 8-1 on our FC. We have an LS3 and we're gonna do an 8-1, but we'll have to relocate the power steering and all kinds of stuff. So this is our hose assembly area. Ryan over here builds all the 6 and 10 hose, and then Jordan builds all the 3 hose.
What's up, man?
They need help. I'm sure they help each other.
Is that true? Y'all help each other?
Yeah, they help each other. They fight a lot, actually. We actually had 4 people here, and when other guys get freed up, they'll help them. And when we're preparing for tax season, which is now, or Black Friday, we generally kind of go all in and we'll help get some stuff on the shelves. But these guys are so efficient that they're able to just say them too. So at one point there was 4 of them, and now there's 2 because they're just that good. So all the inventory sits over there. It's a little different on this one. We have, here, we'll come over here. So that bigger stuff, it's, we have the pre and post inventory. This one, the components are so small that wouldn't make much sense. So we go from, let's see, you've got like much smaller assemblies. So this is our M14 by 1.5. It's a 6AN adapter. This is for tons of power steering and fuel rails and stuff like that. Probably the smallest Chase Bay's logo you'll see in the building too. But these assemblies are much simpler than those. So you just have actually that's not the right one. There you go. That was an old one. We don't use those anymore. So it just gets a crush washer and a red cap. And so the way we do that is we have it here, and then it would get the crush washer and red cap, and then it just goes right next to it. So it's just a different part number, and they just know how it works. So that inventory is organized slightly differently, but that's just how it works throughout. I mean, you've got tons and tons of different stuff here. Each of these are $20. If that gives you an idea. That's 25, 25, 25. So we have, a lot.
A lot.
A lot of stuff. And that's just right here. I mean, there's
quick math. It's at least $100.
Yeah, at least.
It's at least $100.
If not 110.
That's what they pay. That's why I go to school, so I can do that.
Yeah.
In my head,
I
like
can
that. Yeah.
So, we rack it here. All the hose goes here. There's a whole process that would take you a day to know, but gets cut, crimped. All of our drawings are on iPads, and you met Dustin earlier. He does all of these drawings, so the fittings are quite. We have one.
Yeah, that way he'll kind of explain it to you, but when they're making it, all the links, all the fittings, part numbers are right there.
So you did a pretty good job at making.
Oh, that's cool. So basically, it's a straight up guide,
Actually, that's a
and so
swivel.
you can just.
This is a swivel. So yeah, it looks. draw it accurately. We're OCD here. So it's just
Even
got
the
all
logos, I like that.
Yep, it's got all the specs and everything that you need to know, so part numbers and all that.
Was that done in AutoCAD?
That's just Illustrator.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's-
okay.
that's all
Okay.
I'm sure.
We use SolidWorks to draw all these machine components, but this is just 2D. So all the at the beginning of the day or whenever they need to, they fill up these bins with all the fittings that they need to cut and crimp and everything. And that way they don't have to walk over there. Obviously, you want all your stuff close to you. So they do all that, expand the hose, crimp it on either of these crimpers. We do mostly -10 here and -6 here, so that's why there's different crimpers.
So this might be a dumb question, but for the BMRS hoses, is it like a specific crimper you need for
Yeah, I
BMRS
kind of
hoses?
just went right over that. We use all Brown & Miller Racing Solutions / BMRS hose and hose ends. We make all the adapters and all that stuff. The hose has a certain specification that would take us forever to get, and we got to focus on what we're good at. And BMRS is used on NASCAR and Indy, so we went with the best.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even understand really until Ryan started telling me about it, but
Yeah.
that's a pretty big deal that you guys have those.
Yeah, I mean, it took a year of back and forth to get the price right and then get our volume up, because they're not small time, but they we do huge volume, and it's something that they weren't prepared for. So we had to make a pricing deal and then get them prepared to larger quantities for us. And yeah, I've been doing this for 15 years, so I've seen all brands of AN hose. I mean, everything. I've seen everything fail, and all this guy says this is the best. I've seen it fail. This guy says this is the best. I've seen it fail. We've personally used companies that have the hoses failed, or the crimps were the wrong tolerances. It's extremely important, and so whenever we kind of had some problems with our old supplier, we said we just got to go with the best, but it has to be, we can't sell power steering kits for $2,000.
Yeah.
If you wanted to just go to BMRS, and piece everything together, it would probably be, you would pay $800, $900. So we had to buy millions.
And that's just for the hoses.
Yeah, hose ends. You could probably get adapters through them, but ours are made for 240s and BMWs and all that. So
Yeah.
just where we pressure test. We have nothing actively pressure testing now, but it's water-based testing. Air-based testing could kill you. But if something were to if it's air tested, it could blow up and kill you. The water testing, it just kind of pops off and doesn't. If it does fail, it's not a big deal. But once they're done, they dry right here. When we first started pressure testing every hose, we would bag it and then put it on the shelf, and then mold was growing in the bags. And so now we make sure we dry them good. So if somebody has a rushed order, we just have to poke holes in the bag, because otherwise they're going to get a bunch of mold in
So
their box.
just to emphasize that, every single hose that comes out of here is pressure tested, so that if somebody gets a kit from you guys, it's not like maybe this is going to be good. It's like it's already been proven.
Yeah,
That's good.
so low pressure hose, we pressure test to 350 psi. And this would be on the low pressure side of power steering, which goes to max 120 psi, maybe 130 if it's shit's crazy. So 350 psi is what it's tested to, so it's way beyond.
Yeah.
And then otherwise it's used for fuel and maybe oil pressure lines. So yeah, you're talking 50 to 100, 120 psi. And then the high pressure hose is for power steering, and that gets to max of 2,000 psi, and we pressure test that to 3,500 psi.
Wow.
So it's way beyond.
Yeah.
We had, there's shit happens. You can blow a stock pressure hose. Power steering is an insane system. There's ways that air pockets can form and just pretty much explode internally, and then there's nothing you can do. But if somebody were to burst a hose from us, that would mean that they would have to exceed 3,500 psi, and that would mean that something is astronomically wrong, and their pump is probably bad now too.
Yeah.
Not the our fault anymore.
Yeah, there would be, I don't even know if there would be any pump left at that point.
Yeah, usually the rack is what would blow out, just because it's got the seals and everything, and that's The gasket on a pump probably would stand that, but the internals, the vanes could just break apart. I mean, this is our where we process all the orders. It's a mailing organizer. It's a mailing organizer. I made up a word. It's a mailing organizer from Uline, but we just made it work for us. So this was game changer. I mean, we used to just do tons of stacks, but once we started doing 50, 60 orders a day, couldn't handle it anymore. So we have it Monday through Friday. We have 3, 6, easy ship and back orders. It means it is all encompassing within. They mean a lot of different things, but that's just our code for it. Back orders have become a big thing, unfortunately, thanks to 2020. That's what all this is. There's just
It is what it is.
another thing that's just a long explanation. You stay on inventory, you order it on time. We did grow a lot in 2020 because everybody was sitting at home, I guess, or just got government cheese. But it's just the supply chain has really been a nightmare. It's just every stop sort of messes it up. So if it comes from America, there's always excuses there. They're saying, this, their wife and their kid and blah, blah, blah. There's always something there. So it starts there. Hiring has been a nightmare. So everybody in America and across the world, it's hard to hire right now. I don't know where all the workers went. I don't know if they died. I don't know what happened. I don't know what people are doing, but it's hard to get good work. And It just kind of started. It was a slow burn, but 2020 made it just a stamp. Like, it's difficult now. So there's that. Everybody's dealing with that all up the line. But shipping has been the worst because stuff just gets stuck. I mean, even if you don't get stuff from China and it gets stuck at port for 3 months, 4 months, even American stuff, like you get a container, freight, even just UPS shipments, they just get stuck.
Yep.
And they sit there, I mean, for months. And so we had a order made one of our suppliers in America, and it sat there for 3 months.
Holy crap.
And so, I trust them. They had shipped it, but it just got, lost. We finally got it. I mean, but it creates this, So every business owner in the industry and in the industry I talk to is dealing with the same crap. And, customers get angry, but it is what it is, obviously.
Are all these radiators right here? Wow.
So we're pretty stocked up on radiators. But I mean, gosh, we have a busy week and it was gone. So it's really hard to predict. So that rant's done. Whenever we get everything done on post and then assembly of hose assembly, it goes over here and gets packaged up. This is all assemblies. So this is a power steering. This is a R32 power steering kit with a cooler, and this is all the hoses, the bracket, everything. The cooler and the reservoir are in just a triage over there, because if we put them individually it would take up too much space. So
Right.
For an efficiency standpoint, we add those later. So we've got at least one of every assembly that we have on the shelf, and it's not easy. We've actually got to the point where it made it, when we started stocking them, we realized how many things were not profitable, because it was cool to make the power steering hose that guys really needed.
The one hose, yeah.
But
I
we
think
sold
that's what we were
four.
talking about.
We sold 4 a year, and it's like we've just made $2.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we had to drop them because the dual piston brake booster delete. If we have more inventory, inventory dollars allocated to those, it's just better for the company.
Yep.
So we unfortunately had to drop a lot of products in the last year.
No, I think one of the things like we were talking about earlier was, I think it should be a push anyways to do a whole system at once anyways. Like, that's just the way you should build a car.
Yeah.
Is if you're in a system already, you might as well just do the whole thing.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, when you start building a car, I have that same mentality where I'm like, I might as well do these things, and that turns into an insane build.
oh yeah.
So there often is, like, you do have to be careful, you have to segment things.
You have to draw
I'm just
a
gonna
line
do
somewhere.
Power steering and fuel, and that's it.
Mhm.
I'll do those really well. Okay, now I'm going to do interior, and now I'm going to do exterior.
Mm.
Because otherwise, people can get overwhelmed, but it just depends how much time you have in the week.
I guess the time is the other thing too. Like, I think you can build whatever kind of car you want if you're willing to do it for 4 years, but if you want to build a car in 3 months, then
People underestimate the time, for sure. I mean, it's really impressive seeing, race teams and FD drivers and all that, like how quickly a car can come together, and it's like the most insane build, and it's tuned and it's aligned and everything works and it's pretty. I mean, that's a very underappreciated aspect of
I agree.
stuff.
I mean, you know, like I keep going back to drifting, but you know, James Dean won the Russian Drift Series this year, right? That car, they built it in 9 weeks.
Yeah, I know.
S14.5, crazy 2JZ setup, 9 weeks.
He's running our power steering reservoir and our new dual piston brake booster delete. He'll probably make a post pretty soon.
Oh, nice, nice.
He did run our single, but that's not, I mean, it's another long rant, but we sell a single, but it is what it is. It's a single piston. So if you're in a sanctioning body, you probably should run the dual. We offer both. But he ran our single, and they, what's it called? FIA said you have to change to dual, and then at that point we got done with ours, so it worked
Got you.
out. So this is quality control. John here does all
What's
the
up?
quality control. He pulls up drawings, makes sure everything is there. We take pictures of everything that leaves the building. So every order has a picture of it before it gets boxed up. And that's because
that's smart.
you've got some little scammers
I know.
who say, hey, this was missing. And then we go, well, you know, we might have to replace it, or we might have to fight it, however that happens. We know that internally, John didn't mess up, you know, Matt didn't, no one messed up here to fulfill the order, and we can just focus on handling it on the customer side.
That's smart.
And, you know, when people do that, we flag them, you know, email, name, all that. We have ways behind the scenes, I mean, IP address, all that stuff, because every quarter, they'll place an order again and again, and every time they're missing something. If you don't put it together, when you've got 50 to 60 orders a day, you'll get scammed 4 times a year by the same person.
Wow.
So that has been amazing for loss. Because, you know, we're not retail. People don't grab a hoodie and run out of the store.
Right.
But they have different ways of doing it. Now we're in the R&D department. So we just did a lot of organizing here. We moved.
Not like this last
Yeah, I'm glad you're here now, not last week or 2 weeks ago. So we moved here in August to this. This is a 40,000 square foot warehouse. We moved here in August. R&D is important, but we had to get, you know, our operations moved first. So there was just pallets and boxes and all kinds of, I mean, chaos. I'll show you some pictures. So we finally got everything on pallet shelves. It's organized by chassis: E30, E36, E46. What's next? Yeah, FC, FD, S13, Z32.
So these are parts for ongoing builds here.
Yeah,
Got
all
you.
these cars are sick.
A lot of them are stock parts that we're not going to use, and I've been saying for 7 or 8 years, you know, we'll have an eBay store one day and whatever. But I mean, it's crazy. Like some of the valuable shit that we have cameras, don't break in. It's not going to work out.
You got E36 stuff?
Oh yeah, we have the most amount of
Hey,
stuff.
I might be interested. Let's see what you got.
But we've got a E46 M3 build happening here. Our goal with this car, it's going to look kind of scrappy right now, but we're doing S54. We're going to keep that intake, header exhaust, tune, and we're going to break some records. So we're going to go to Road Atlanta and be the fastest stock engine S54 lap time.
Heck
We're gonna go to
yeah.
Barber and do the same thing, and all Chase-based products. And there are, you know, we haven't done enough of that. It's like we know our products work, and there's drivers that have it, but now we're going to document it on like a molecular scale to show that the only reason that this car broke the record is because you had the dual piston brake booster delete, because you had the proper cooling and catch can, all that stuff. You know, plus good driving and good suspension tuning and all that. But,
Yeah.
but it's just proving that the Chase-based parts can facilitate the lap time, you know. So this car will kind of come in.
That's a huge benefit.
What now?
The true coil over rear, I was just saying,
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
it's like a must.
And it's triple adjustable. So you know, that's obviously important when you're getting into road racing. Most people don't know how to tune them. Hell, I'm not even the best. I can't even do that. I have a Brian, who's not here today, but he does all that. This is our FD. I imported this from Japan when they were first legal, so it was cheap as hell. Now they're like 50 grand. I got it for 8,000
Wow.
to Savannah, Georgia port, and it came with all kinds of Jap products that I sold and made my money back. But of course, I spent it on all the things we did after that.
And it's black interior. The real question is though, do you have the black seatbelt buckles?
Probably somewhere. We can check the pallet shelves. Is that a rare thing?
That's apparent. It's like a meme now because of TJ Hunt.
Oh.
He has one that he has black interior converted, but the only thing he could never find were the black seatbelt buckles.
Yeah, it probably did. I mean, they're out there somewhere. I made a huge mistake with this car, and I know better, but I didn't paint under the carpet because this was supposed to come together way faster. And so I was like, well, I don't want to, you know, the stock interior is so brittle and old, and then the stock harness is the same thing. It's Mazda wiring. I mean, I just got so scared that once I take it out, it's gonna have all these problems. So I left it in and just had him pull back the carpet and paint. I kind of regret it now. Obviously, like there's red showing through, and that's not the representative of the kind of cars that we build. But I wanted the car, before we went crazy and did, you know, all race chassis, wiring harness and all that, I wanted to enjoy the car some, but some stuff happened, so it took a lot longer than we planned. But that was my motive behind sort of that half-ass painting there. So it looks great until you see that. But
I don't blame you a bit.
just being honest.
I know these RX-7 interiors kind of come apart once, and then
Yep.
that's kind of it.
And then the harness too. I mean, it's just the interior harnesses. You'll get gremlins, and then that's it. We kept 13B. We've got Zach. His formula. Mazet formula.
Yeah.
He had that black 4-rotor RX-7. He's local here in Birmingham, and he's helping me with the 13B. I was gonna 1JZ swap it. I had one conversation with him, and I'm like, okay, rotaries are pretty cool. We'll make it
Rotaries
work.
are sick.
They just, it's like, it's all in the tuning. As long as they don't knock, as long as it has premix, because it's like a fucking lawnmower. So you premix the gas, make sure it doesn't knock, run E85, you're good to go. Make sure your shit doesn't overheat, which is, after doing this and learning about them, you could build, you know, once you get into 20B and 26B, it's a different story, but you could build a 13B, not that expensive, and make it bulletproof. I mean, I don't get why no one in Formula Drift has figured it out. Maybe just because 13B isn't capable of 1,000 horsepower, but I mean, to me, it's you could seriously run this shit all day on the limiter, and the engine doesn't care at all. It's just turning the rotors.
Yeah, I mean, well, you got Kyle Mohan with the 20B, but
Yeah.
even him, he's still kind of.
Yeah, he runs into problems. I don't know. This is our where we prefer to film because it's well lit. This is our official R&D room. That's kind of more of the build room, but this is the R&D room. We've got 3D printers on the other side of that wall. Take photos there. Everything's well lit enough. We can keep the doors closed so no one walks in while we're filming. And then this is all of our builds, and plus those two and a couple of paint. We're still organizing this room some, so forgive the mess here, but we've just got this all going. And here's a bunch of prototype stuff. And the pedal adapter that we were talking about earlier, this is a BRZ pedal setup. So we've got the brake pedal here, clutch pedal here. This bolt-in 6-1 adapter, that's it right there. So it just raises the pickup point to increase the leverage, because that's less leverage than that. And then you have to have the pedal compensate for it, whether it be firewall angle, and then just getting a straight shot to the clevis mounting point. So I don't know if that helps sort of explain
that makes
why.
sense.
Yeah, no one's thought of that. This is all us. No one's ever done this. People who welded their firewalls and raised their master cylinders before, they drilled the pedal. But think about how hard it is to take some of these pedals out with the loaded springs and all that. Not something you want to do. So this takes, 10 seconds to install. You just slap it on there and tighten it. And the force is always opposing. So it's never, even if it was slightly loose, which, torque it down, but even if it was slightly loose, you would feel it, and it's the stop is going against the force. So you know what I'm saying? So that's when it's pushing, it's always putting force in the direction proper to not make it unseat itself.
That's so rad.
Yeah, there's rarely a situation where we would borrow somebody else's car. I've known him for 15 years, so he was one of my first friends when I got into cars. So he's good. We're happy to borrow his car. We know it won't go sour. Dustin builds his car here, and then Jordan's the R32. He has to replace the turbo, and we're going to use it for install guide videos. But everything else is Chase Bays. This is our RB25 Neo. We're just doing a few install guides on this before it goes to paint.
Sweet.
You can see we're doing a light engine bay shave, so I've got all the notes for Jonathan Cheek.
That's cool.
Shave stuff. I've had this car since 2009.
Holy crap.
It was an 80,000 mile S13 coupe, two-tone, and I got it for $2,000, and it was perfect. I ruined it, but we've made a.
No, I think it's been made better.
Well, every product was developed on this car and tested on another, but some of it was tested on here. So if you think about it, this has built the entire 240 platform. So I've made my money back, and
yeah,
when we're painting it, we're bringing it back to it'll be S13 front, stock fenders, no overs. And then, authentic Vertex Aero. So it'll be like the perfect S13 build. So I'm bringing it back. I'm going to de-destroy it.
Same color two-tone?
Same color two-tone.
Nice. I was going to say, because I like this. Is it like a cream?
Yeah, they call it like a yellow something, but it's, it's just a really, I guess, very yellowy white.
No, I like it a lot.
Well, we're doing, we're going to get it on a rotisserie, stitch weld it so it lasts forever.
Nice.
We're painting it on the bottom too, like inside and out and on the bottom. And I can't decide if I want to do beige underneath or actually, pay an extra fortune to the painter to do two-tone inside. So like this would be beige and then that and underneath would be the sort of charcoal.
I think you know. It sounded like when you just said that, it sounds like you know.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes we're in denial for the things that we know, and then we have to.
Because just one picture of a two-tone fender well.
Yeah.
Like.
You're right. What would be really stupid and terrible and awesome is if you change the color of anything else.
Oh, that would be so good.
You two-tone just this portion of the coilover.
Just tell them, look, we're not gonna take anything out, don't mask it off, even two-tone the brake rotor, like just do it all.
That's what's happening.
That's rad.
The wheels, and then they're always misaligned. You always see that. Yeah. Well, that kind of concludes the long tour of Chase Bays. We're working on all these cars full time, and I think later this year you'll start to see a lot of these cars actually running. For a long time, they were just mock-up. A couple of them ran here and there, but I'm tired of looking at them not running. I'm tired of pushing them around, so they're gonna all run. We've got a plan for all of them. So the FD and E46 M3, those are first, and then we have an FC at paint right now, and we're doing it Champ White from the Integra Type R. So that's Champ White, and we're doing an LS3 8-to-1 header. We stitch welded the whole thing. That's painted Champ White on the bottom, like the whole car, and it's like caged and all that. So that car is going to be wild. So lots of cool stuff happening.
Thank you so much, Chase and Landon, for showing me around. This place is it's so much bigger in person than it looks in photos. Like it's crazy how much is going on here. But hopefully you guys learned something, maybe just about how intense running a business is or some technical stuff. But yeah, again, thank you for everything and for making amazing products, because I've loved everything I've gotten so far from my car, and I want the whole catalog at some point. So
we'll get it to you.
We'll make it happen. So, all right, guys. So appreciate you watching this, and we'll see you next time.
Hold up.
I know what you're thinking. It's not low enough. Here's the thing. We just haven't had the time.
Hey, I wasn't gonna say it.
We have drop knuckles front and back, so we just haven't messed with the height. It needs to be about, I'd say, an inch lower, maybe 2.
That'd be perfect.
The BRZ is such an amazing chain. I mean, if you've ever owned one, it's easy to work on. Everything is easy to get to. Everything makes sense. I don't know how they did it. Because, cars always have these things about them where you think, what is, why?
I understand.
You
Yeah.
have an E36.
Yes, lots of things. Just like why?
Well, everything that they could have done right, they did on this car. I think it's amazing.
Take 2.
checking.